Okay. Welcome back to the FPL One Percenters Podcast. I'm smiling so much because that intro was incredible. Shout out to our tech guy Kazim. Really great stuff, but lovely to be back once again. Guys, how was the game week for you guys? How are you all doing? Firstly,
All right, lads. Looking forward to another good chat, but a bit of an indifferent game week. Not too happy, not too bad. One of those.
yeah, a bit of a mixed bag, right? The United result once again was just, disappointing. I had fantasy to back me up, I guess, in terms of performance. Hammer, you still got the jersey going strong.
I have the jersey, but it was rubbish on both ends, Fantasy and United.
Fair enough. Because
Yeah.
at least Chelsea did you proud.
Yeah. Mixed emotions in terms of fantasy, but yeah, happy to see Chelsea getting some consistent results. And yeah, looking forward to a good game week 8 before the international break.
Yeah, that's the one to look out for. Nice little segue into sort of a potential wild card or anything like that is the international break. Also nice to finish strong, just like any Premier League team as well. You want to finish with green arrows on that particular game week where you have a long break. Just to give you guys an idea of yours, first of all, we have an Insta page. I forgot to mention this last week, but link is in the description down below. So like and subscribe to the channel as well. We're going to send positive vibes for every like we get on the channel. And so for every like we get, we hope your team value will go up by 0.1 million, hopefully. Secondly, this week we have a double header. So we're going to have another video potentially this week or early next week, within the next week or so, with the top... the winner of FPL 2018. So watch out for that. Like, he won the whole thing, not this top 1%, number one. So we're going to have an interview with him at some point. So watch out for that as well. But for this week, we're going to look at Southampton and their impressive performance. We're going to look at City as well. And are they out of trouble? Are they still in trouble? Why can't they score? Chelsea's newfound solidity, which has been surprising to many who were doubting Frank Lampard. And then we're going to look at premium defender options. Are they worth it? Is there so much value further up the pitch that you have to get rid of them? And then close with captains and dodgy differentials. But yeah, to start out, we will look at the game week. Guys, everyone had a Salah captain this week?
Yep, always captain Salah.
Me and Hammer, I don't think, went that route.
Yeah, Hammer, you had the Sterling captaincy, right?
Yeah, I took a risk and it didn't pay off. So going back to the way, always captain Salah.
It was one of those lucky ones. Though. It was a penalty, right? Yeah, it was a penalty. We've got my team up here. I was pleasantly surprised. Saiss didn't play, and they got a clean sheet, but Lamptey came in for me. 69 points. I think it's my season high. If anything, Podence finally came through with a goal. So thank God for that. But yeah, good green arrows for me within the million now, top 1 million. So can't complain. But what did you think of generally? Firstly, one of the players we didn't have was James Ward-Prowse. You proudly mentioned, Kazim, that you didn't have any of your dodgy differential picks. Is this one that you're kind of regretting now?
Yeah, well, I say it now, but I think I would have considered this pick right before I made the move for Foden. He was on my radar, but I don't know, just something that I didn't trust him at the time. And I wanted to really use all my budget because I had 6.6 and Foden was really the only player that fit in that criteria. But yeah, obviously going back, I wish I sort of trusted my actual pick for the week. But yeah, he's looking like a good asset going forward as well, given that now with Ings injured, he's going to be for sure on penalties.
Yeah, absolutely. He was on pens, I think, before they took it off him and gave it to Danny Ings. I think there's this thing about giving strikers penalties, a confidence thing. He's got 11 points, 17 points, 2 consecutive weeks. And speaking of Danny Ings, Hass, you're holding him at the moment. Great move. Your team was looking solid this week, and I was quite jealous about the Ings pick because it's a great differential. But what are your thoughts now? What do you think you're going to do?
Yeah, that's the thing. Danny Ings, I liked him because, not many people in our mini league had him. He was, not that highly picked as a striker, and he was just giving me, 8 points, 7 points, 9 points every week. So I think now he's injured. The scans, they said it's not as bad as they think. So I'm still trying to wait. I'll wait till probably Friday just to see what they say if he's got a chance for this weekend. But if it looks like he's going to miss more than one game over the international break, then I'm going to have a look at another option. And one of the things I'm looking at is possibly just downgrading him to one of the budget strikers that I picked out last week. And then that way I can upgrade my midfield.
Yeah, brilliant. No, that is especially because it's one of your strikers. If it's one of your 5 across the middle, then you can, and you have all playing 5. But as one of the 3, who would you go for? For me, Callum Wilson this week was top notch, to be honest. Shea Adams, do you think, Hammer, that Adams has the capacity to fill in Ings' shoes, or?
I think a lot of the chances that Adams gets comes from Ings or from his runs, because the defense tends to focus on Danny Ings because they know he can score from anywhere on the pitch. So Adams ends up getting more space. I think without Ings, the threat will be a bit lower because then they have a different type of player in Shane Long coming in. He likes to run behind the defense a lot more. So it'll be a different game. We'll have to see how Che Adams does without Ings, but I don't see that potential. I think Wilson looks good. I think Calvert-Lewin might get back into form this week with Richarlison coming back. So we'll see.
Oh, yeah, I know. It could be a shot. I mean, their shape. Sorry, continue, Kazim.
No, I was just going to say, funny Hammer mentioned Calvert-Lewin because there was a very specific incident that happened this weekend where he mentioned Calvert-Lewin is done and then he scores. So we'll see if that happens again this week.
It's genuinely the magic touch.
The magic touch.
Also, one thing before we go on is we've given Mitrovic such a hard time on this show. Yeah, I hear someone said that, listen, no matter what the stats say, please sell Mitrovic. So for the one member of the pod that I think held on to him not by a choice but just by default, he came through with 2 assists. I didn't even bother watching, but he did us proud. No bonus points for the guy, poor guy. But yeah, I feel like he deserved a shout out at least. But you think Southampton will struggle? Considering they conceded 5 goals against Spurs not too long ago, they're 5th in the table. They're performing really well. They're playing good football. They have this system where both of their strikers kind of go wide. Their wingers play through the middle, and they are very clinical, because I had a look at a stat that says they're 12th in the table for expected goals, but they're 5th in the table, just in the Premier League table. So is that speak to how clinical they are, or how good they are on the counter? Hammer, do you think they can only play versus one type of team, or their system only works versus certain teams and just they get battered by other teams?
It's difficult to say because their style is to press high up, but they have a really good defense. The first 2 games they struggled, but Vestergaard didn't play in the first game. He came on for like 30 or 40 minutes in the second game, right? Since he started playing with them, since he started starting in that center back position, their defense looks solid, so they can commit more going forward, knowing that their defense looks good at the back. So we'll have to see how they work against a counter-attacking team, a team that sits back, but it's at the moment it's difficult to say, especially with the Ings injury.
Yeah, true. It's looking promising though. Any other thoughts on Southampton, or shall we move on?
Yeah, one thing I'd say is because the way they banged in 4 against Villa on the weekend, people are worrying about their Villa defense, saying, oh, what should we do here? But you look at the goals they scored, right? 2 direct free kicks and a worldie from Danny Ings. So, I think Villa are still okay. And I think Southampton probably outperforming their expected goals right now.
Yeah, they were great free kicks though.
And they did,
beauty.
They conceded 3, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing to think about is, was that something to just give? It's so annoying. I didn't have Grealish, and then for him to score an assist past the 90th minute is so annoying. But was that something that gave you faith? I mean, if they'd lost 4-0, a lot of people would have been panicking about the Villa assets. But it's the nature of the game, I guess, that after the 90th minute he scores an assist and it turns into a tight game all of a sudden. So no reason to worry for Villa. People holding Villa like Grealish, Watkins, that sort of thing, pass the eye test.
Yeah, I think they're fine. They're still creating chances. They're still getting goals. And one of the things I mentioned last week is, with these sort of assets, you hold them for like 5 weeks, you'll get 2-3 good returns. So no point jumping on and off.
Yeah, no, brilliant. The next one we were going to look at would be City, who I watched actually this week. And their shape defensively was what was quite interesting. Is they have now a solid centre-back partnership with Ruben Diaz, Laporte, Walker on one side, Cancelo on the other side. And in the last 3 weeks, City have had the lowest expected goals against of any team in the Premier League. So do we think this is the way they're going to set up, defensively solid? And is that why they're scoring less? Or are they two different conversations? Hammer, I'll come to you first about what you think, man.
It's two different items. So if you look at the beginning of the season, Pep started off playing Rodri and Fernandinho at CDM, and they were trying to attack really fast with Kevin De Bruyne playing as sort of number 10, but it didn't work out because they were conceding too many. So now he has Diaz, Ruben Diaz, and Laporte playing at center back, and then what happens during the attack is Cancelo moves forward. And what he started doing is asking Bernardo Silva to sort of play like the David Silva position, where he comes in between the striker and Kevin De Bruyne, and he moves into those gaps.
So in between the lines he plays the way Silva did.
Exactly. So that's where he's trying to change his attacking formation. He doesn't have a striker still. So once Aguero or Jesus comes back, it will help them in the center forward position. But defensively, he started just playing the two center backs and Walker next to them.
Yeah.
Right? He plays three center backs, and from time to time, you see Rodri come in and Walker go up the right. That's how he's sort of settled out the defense. So the defense look a lot solid, and then he's going to change up his forward line with the way.
Yeah, because I guess he has to do something or the other, because it wasn't working at the beginning of the season. Has his Cancelo a rotation risk at all? You reckon? Is he the pick of the bunch from the City defense, or is there anyone else you'd?
Yeah, with Pep, it's difficult, right? Because he'll go a couple of games and then he'll rotate them. Even, with Laporte, Laporte's his favorite, but even then, right, he's at risk of rotation. But, I do hear what you're saying, and I like the City defense. It's just to keep an eye on, which defenders are going to play the most, right? Even if you get 4 out of 5 games with them and then they rotate, you still got points there.
Yeah, Kyle Walker seems a favorite for him, to be honest. Would he be, budget aside, would he be the least of the rotation risk, Kazim, you reckon, or?
Yeah, it definitely seems like he's played the most consistent games, and I think the biggest rotation potentially will come in their centre-back pairing. It looks like they do have a consistent, centre-backs, but I know he has a lot of options there. So depending on the opponent, he may want to rotate. And I think especially after game week 10 is where the fixtures really get attractive. It would be a good shout to pick up one of the defenders there.
Yeah, and did you guys? I know we had a conversation around City's attacking potential over the last couple of weeks at some point. But did you guys see anything to convince you that you should be buying into City attackers right now, or still same old? Don't buy, no reason to buy into anyone like Sterling or De Bruyne, or is it time to sort of jump on it?
But Sterling's game has changed, right? So if you watch the game when he was playing on the left wing, he didn't come into the center too much. Whereas in the past, the wingers tended to come in if the ball was on the other side and play as a second center forward. So that has changed. But looking at the Cancelo, looking at Bernardo Silva, Cancelo created 4 chances. I think it was Torres who had 2 of them, Mahrez had 1, and De Bruyne had 1. Right? So they were creating a lot of chances going forward. Right, so it looks as though they're finding their game, and it's just a matter of time before they start putting them in.
Yeah, and this is one of the the stats that I looked at, and if you compare Manchester City from the beginning of last season versus Manchester City from the beginning of this season, so last season they had 22 big chances in their first 5 games and 16 goals. This season they've had 9 big chances and 8 goals. So that's a big drop off. That's it's like less than half. So I think it may be part of shoring up the defense, but it's also because they've been missing an out and out striker. And from what I read this morning is Aguero looks like he could be back after the international break. So that'll be big.
Yeah, and has to be on the bench today in the Champions League. So.
Okay.
Oh wow. Good. Massive. Okay. So we could be returning to City must have soon, but not yet, I guess, right? With that being said, we move on to Kazim's experts area, and I'm going to ask you, which Chelsea defender should I buy? Just that's my question.
I think it's Ben Chilwell. Just given the price tag, I think I don't know if he's gone up to 6 million, but he's at 5.9 to 6. He's a good price for a premium defender. and he is very, very, very rare chance of him getting a rotation risk. The only real risk I see with that pick is an injury, which he's been known to be injured in the past. But other than that, like, he's great going forward. He's got he's good defensively, so there's really little risk. If you're looking for a bit of a differential, but maybe not as much attacking returns, although he is one of the highest scoring defenders right now, would be Zuma. I think of the two centre backs, he's the one to start week in, week out. Thiago may rotate based on his fitness or resting him. But yeah, those would be my two main picks.
Okay, nice. No, it's a good shot. I'm holding Reece James at the moment. I feel like he's a bit of a rotation risk. Him and Reguilon, I feel like, are kind of in the same position in terms of how likely they are to play, because they're not really like nailed on yet.
I think if you have Reece James, you keep him. I don't think it's worth the transfer. Just switch to Chilwell, because he's going to play majority of the games. It's just there may be the odd game where he gets rested, or based on the team, he may not want to play him. So yeah, definitely a keep. And the games he does play, he could get a lot of assists.
Yeah, I mean, it's a similar conversation, and with Chelsea, a similar conversation with Wolves as well. Is that what do you do? I mean, a lot of people are holding sites, right? He played over 2,000 minutes last year, and he just didn't start. Is that showing us that managers are still finding their feet, or is it showing us that, listen, you have to have a deep squad, because a deep FPL squad, because your players are going to get rotated at points as well? What do you think, Hass?
Yeah, I mean, for me, you don't want to leave too much money on your bench. So I don't like to have anybody who's worth like 6 million, 6.5 sitting on my bench. But you definitely want to have, at least two guys that are going to be playing. Because, you take the risk of that rotation. If your guy, he comes out and gets you 2 points, 3 points, at least you're ticking over. So I'd definitely make sure that, your first sub and second sub are playing week in, week, at least week in, week out. Even if they come on and get 30 minutes at the end, it's good enough.
Kazim can attest to that.
Yeah, I mean, I went the cheapo route. I guess my template team included maybe 3-4 million guys. I think I have 2-4 million guys left. I got rid of one. So yeah, I'm really hoping to do a wildcard soon to get rid of these guys, because I'm really hurting. And I think Sace, this is the week where it's still a bit early for us to know what Nuno is going to do in terms of the lineup. But I think, given the tough fixtures that are coming up, he's probably going to be a sell for me. But I'll give him one more week until I really make that final decision.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess we have that flexibility in that sense to sort of decide if you have players that are playing, or just generally. I think he's been good. He's one of the high scoring after Zuma, so would be a shout to sort of hang on to him potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck, guys. Kazim, thank you for the new setup.
No worries. So I'm gonna cue the outro now. So
yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Thanks for listening, guys.